Indian historiography. Okay, Indian historiography, various ideological framework. Ideological framework, various ideologies created by the various historians in India. Not just Britishers but also Indian historiographer, Indian historians. So we study about that. Now, colonial historiography. Historiography in the pre-independence era, or what you call it, British era, during British reign, okay, a British ruler. Obviously, it got divided into various what you call it ideology. That ideology we are going to study in detail. Now, first ideological historiography, nothing but a colonial historiography. Colonial historiography, the word indicate on the word that shows that it was written by the British officers, British British experts or British historians or historiographers. So, colonial historiography, the early scholars who studied and wrote Indian history were mainly British officers. So, obviously, it is the British officers who first started writing about Indian historiography. Where previously and first time they wrote about Indian historiography and they published various articles, various books, as well as various documents related to Indian historiography. But their writing, I already told you, their writing were what called bias, because they regarded Indian people, Indian culture, okay, or Indian countrymen as inferior, and they regarded British Empire or themselves as superior. So they are writing, and they always condemn Indian culture, they always condemn our policies, they always condemn our culture, our people, our rights and rituals and traditions. So obviously, history of many British officers and Christian missionaries also wrote about the Indian history. Okay, they also wrote about Indian history. Now, their prejudice is clearly reflected in the way some of them have ridiculed Indian culture. And most of these people, whatever the British officers, okay, or British historians, they condemn the Indian culture. Their writing was prejudicial or prejudice. It was nothing but the prejudice. Prejudice is nothing but a bias. Obviously, they regarded themselves superior and they regarded us as inferior. So obviously, their writing was totally biased, and they condemn and they ridicule, they mock our culture, they mock our traditions, our rights and rituals, okay, as well as our moral values, ethical values. Okay. So their writing were used to justify the colonial British rule. I already told you, they always justified the British rule. They always justified British Empire. They thought that it was divine gift. It's the God-given authority to them that they should rule India. Not only they should rule India, but they also should rule the whole the world. It was the divine power, it is the divine gift, it is the gift of God. Okay? And it is like God said to them, go and rule India. And that's why they regarded themselves superior and they regarded Indian culture inferior, and they obviously mocked us, ridiculed us. Okay? In short, they devoured us verbally. Okay. So, Indian culture, now their writing were used to justify the colonial British rule. The 5 volumes of Cambridge History of India, you can see Cambridge History, Cambridge University, you know that very well. So, all the scholars were there and experts were there. They wrote Cambridge History of India, published during 1922 to 1937. Means various books were published, not a single book, various books were published by various scholars, various historiographers of Cambridge University. By the Britishers are distinct example of colonial historiography. Colonial historiography they malign these British officers, British experts, or British historians. They malign our culture. They deface our moral values, our morality, our cultural values, our tradition, our rights, our rituals, our language. Okay. Everything they ridicule, they mock us totally. So, even though their writing depicts the Indian culture and tradition, they mock us. And their writing was totally prejudiced. Okay? It was totally biased. Now we'll go. There is nothing but the colonial historiography. Now we'll study the second ideology created during the British rule. There is nothing but the Orientalist historiography. But all the Britishers were not bad at those times. All the Britishers were not that type, or they don't have that typical personality of other particular colonial mindset. They didn't have. Many Britishers also, many British scholars, many British experts or historians, they have what you call total different mindset. Okay, they have favorite mindset. Okay, especially toward the countries of the East, toward the cultures of the Eastern countries are nothing but Asia, and especially in that China and in particular India. So these are nothing but the Orientalist historiography, or you may call them Orientalist historians. They were also Britishers, they were also Westerners, okay? But they didn't have that kind of a mindset, or what we call a colonial mindset, or superior mindset. We are superior, you are inferior. So that kind of a mindset they didn't have. So many European scholars felt curious about civilization in countries of the East. Many European scholars, not just Britishers, but also other European scholars like Germany, France, Spain, okay, and Portuguese, various scholars, obviously these are European scholars, they felt curiosity. They felt curiosity about Eastern culture, Eastern civilization, Eastern values, and all those things, and myths also and mythological stories about civilization in countries of the East. Some of these scholars felt admiration, and most of these scholars, they admire Indian culture, Eastern civilization, Indian civilization, or what you call that Asian civilization, or whatever civilization occurred in various Asian countries. So obviously they admired and they respected us. They never disrespected our culture, they never respected our rights and rituals and our people of our country. So these scholars were known as Orientalists, means leaning toward the East. Orientalist nothing but in a other sense we call it leaning toward the East, means favorable towards the Eastern culture, okay, or Eastern values, Eastern traditions. Okay. So obviously they were known as Orientalists, and that's why whatever they written is nothing but Orientalist historiographers or historiography. You may call it Orientalist historiography. This is the second ideology. Now, the Orientalists studied the similarities between Sanskrit and some of the European languages. Well, colonial historians or experts, they neglected Sanskrit. They regarded Sanskrit as an inferior language. Why we should study? Why we should study about that? But these Orientalists, when they studied the Sanskrit, thoroughly, then obviously they came to know there is a similarity between Sanskrit and various European language, and afterward they came to the conclusion, or they drew the conclusion that Sanskrit is the mother of all languages. Not just Indian languages, but also some European languages. Okay? So, and some of the European languages, and they focus more on Vedic traditions related to various Vedas, Samaveda, Rigveda, Yajurveda, all those Vedic traditions during those periods, ancient period, and the Sanskrit literature and various Sanskrit literature, whatever Sanskrit literature, Sanskrit stories, mythological stories available in Sanskrit language, okay? And they studied it deeply. Now, their studies resulted into formulating the notion of the ancient language that would be the mother of all Indo-European languages. And afterward, when they deeply studied and dug into the history, they dived into it. And they studied all the Indian languages, especially the Sanskrit, deeply, and they understood and they got answered that European languages and Sanskrit is interrelated. Okay? And Sanskrit is the mother of all languages. Okay? And most of the European languages also. So, now in 1784, Sir William Jones founded Asiatic Society in Kolkata. Now here you can visit that Asiatic Society in Kolkata in West Bengal. If you visit that, it's a big library now and it has become a big museum. So it was first established by Sir William Jones in 1784. You have to remember this date. Now it opened the doors for research in ancient Indian literature and history. And first time it opened the doors. Who? This Asiatic Society in Kolkata, established by or founded by Sir William Jones in 1784. It opened the door for research in ancient Indian literature. And first time all the historiographers, is irrespective whether they are Britishers or whether they are Indian, it doesn't matter. Okay? So all of them came and do research in ancient Indian literature and history. Now, among the Orientalist scholars, Friedrich Max Müller deserves a special attention. Okay, Friedrich Max Müller, not here. Friedrich Max Müller regarded special position, or you must mention him specially. Why? In his opinion, Sanskrit was the most ancient language of the Indo-European world. And most of these Europeans thought that it is the German language. Okay, English is also not a new language. Sorry, it is not an ancient language. But in Europe, mostly they regarded a German language, or Germanic language, or you may call it Celtic language. Celtic is related to you. Celtic language is the ancient language of Europe. And our language, obviously they were biased, I already told you. Most of these European countries and British officers and British historians and European scholars, they were biased. They regarded that our Celtic language or Germanic language is a root of our civilization, root of all European languages. But afterwards, when this Orientalist historiographer or Orientalist historians like Friedrich Max Müller, when he studied deeply and dived into the Sanskrit language, he studied it thoroughly, then he found that Sanskrit is the ancient language, or Sanskrit was the most ancient language of the Indo-European languages. Now, he was deeply interested in Sanskrit literature. He was also deeply interested in Sanskrit literature, stories, mythological stories, fictional stories. Now, he first translated the Sanskrit text of Hitopadesh. Now, first state of Hitopadesh, actually Hitopadesh was written in Sanskrit language. Now, he first translated it into German language because Friedrich Max Müller was from Germany. He was German historiographer, German expert, okay, German historians. So he translated into German. He was the first editor of 50 volumes of the sacred books of the East, and he was the first editor who, Friedrich Max Müller. He was the first, editor, 50 volumes, not just one volume, but 50 volumes of the sacred books of the East, various sacred books of the East. Now, he also compiled Rig Veda, which has been published in 6 volumes. He also compiled. Rig Veda was written in various other forms and in various other articles or documents, but he compiled them together and he wrote the book about it. And he also compiled and has been published in 6 volumes. And that book was published or segregated into 6 volumes. Now he translated Rig Veda in German. I already told you Friedrich Max Müller was from Germany. So obviously he translated all these Rig Veda and various other books like Hitopadesh and various other Indian texts, ancient texts which were written in Sanskrit language, translated into German language. So Friedrich Max Müller you can see over here. Lately Edward Said. Now Edward Said, not Saida, it is a Said. Edward Said, a scholar who has re-evaluated the Orientalist, lighting us from light on imperialistic interest of Orientalist scholars. Now, when Orientalist scholars discover the ground reality, they unearth the real truth that Sanskrit is the most ancient language and Orientalist culture or Eastern culture or Eastern values or Eastern civilization is not inferior. When they told to the whole world that these Eastern culture, Eastern values are not inferior. We are regarding them inferior, but they are not inferior compared to Western culture. Then various imperialist, imperialist scholars or imperialist historiographers or colonial historians, they got interested in all these texts, all these books, and all whatever they found out. Who? Found out by Orientalism. Now, nationalistic historiography. Okay, nationalistic. We will study in the next lesson.